Love the track. Good battles with everyone in the group. So no, it was good. It's good. Just couldn't stay with deck with new tyres and just couldn't keep on the back of John. But tried to keep Drew and Alex Miller behind me, which was the aim. So yeah, it was good. It was a good laugh.
Amazing. Well, congratulations. We'll look forward to seeing more of you throughout this season. But that's everybody down here. So back up to Zach in the commentary box.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, the Porsche Club of Great Britain, of course, brought to you by Pirelli, and of course the AM Championship brought to you by Pirelli as well, is about to get itself underway. We saw a fantastic race one that saw a three-way fight right at the front with Bill Cayley, Simon Clark and Jake McAleer taking to the top three spots. Myself, Zach Sweeney, Paul Yerd, to talk you through the next 25 minutes of racing action. And Paul, off the back of race number one, I think we're in for an absolute barnstorming race.
Very, very much so, to be quite honest. It was an absolute cracker at the front. Different cars seeing strong, not only different parts of the track, but in different parts of the race, as tyre wear became an issue for these guys out there. But it was absolutely superb. We had a great battle at the front. We had a great battle in the AM class, the AM category, which is primarily all the Boxsters that are out there. Then Angus Archer coming out on top in that. So it was the first actually non-win for a 997, because Bill Cayley, who actually won, is out there in a Cayman and made a cracking start and took the lead through the first corner. But we do actually now have the two 997s out there on the front row, and I think that's going to be the can they get away, can they keep those quick Caymans behind them, because Bill Cayley's actually now down to fourth on the grid for this race.
Yeah, he is indeed. Of course, there you can see, let's talk you through the grid for race two. It's Simon Clark that will start from pole position, of course, dictated by their second fastest time in qualifying. Jake McAleer completes the front row ahead of Bill Cayley, who's going to be looking to go for 2 in 2. James Cayley joins him on row 2 ahead of Mark McAleer in P5. Ed Hayes, who got a bucket load of penalties after race 1, starts 6th, with Chris Dyer, Jim Byron, the top 8 drivers. Behind that, of course, you've got Oliver Chatham, David Burke, who had a couple of issues as well. Pete Evans from Angus Archer, of course, our race 1 AM winner in 12th. Behind that, Jason Brown, Carl Hazelton, the top 7 rows. Of course, Carl Hazelton looking for, again, redemption after some issues in race 1. Julie Morris, Andrew Porter, who hopefully this time has got a transponder working on his car. Jessica Wilson from Darren Levert, and Jamie Campbell once again at the back of the field after, again, issues in qualifying, getting up to speed, but hopefully 25 minutes, and it's going to be just as hard fought as we saw in race 1.
Very, very much so. It was a very quick 25 minutes, if that doesn't sound a strange thing to say first time round. The race absolutely flew by with plenty going on. And it's strange that we're almost up to their second and final race of the day already. The day's absolutely flown by. But Simon Clark is now rolling to a halt on pole position. Jake McAleer alongside him. The row 2 is just, there's lots of families at the front. Row 2 is entirely the Cayleys. Bill Cayley alongside Father James. Bill Cayley in car 80, James in 11. And then on the third row, we've actually got Mark McAleer, the father of Jake McAleer, who's on the front row. So of those every so far, James Cayley is actually the only non-race winner so far this year. They've been very, very quick at the front. Already we are forming up. Jamie Canada in place, green flags wave from the back. So we are going into our starting sequence. The red lights are on. It's the car on the outside of the front row got the best start last time, and again it's the car on the outside of the front row that gets the initial best start. Simon Clark replies, but it's Bill Cayley goes down the inside and just has to bail out. A few people have to hesitate. Ed Hayes again, another who had to come off the throttle mid-corner, but it's Simon Clark from Jake McAleer.
Simon Clark with a fantastic second phase of the start. The initial phase was absolutely dreadful, got swamped either side by 2 cars. Thankfully for him, was able to just squeeze his way through the middle. Nicely done. David Burke fighting away with the 22, of course, of Evans. That's going to be the fight going into Church, the 32 versus the 74 as well. Now we begin the all-important climb. A great start then from Simon Clark, who's able to bridge that gap to at least a couple of car lengths. The 2 McAleers complete 3 and 4 as they fight up the hill. Who's going to be the brave one on the brakes?
That is what it's going to be all about. In fact, it's James Cayley closing up on Mark McAleer at the back of that little battle group seems to be it. But Simon Clark, when I spoke to him after the first race, he said he just wanted to get a good start and actually open a gap early on, which is when he thought his car would be strong. So that's exactly what he's doing. And it is Jake McAleer in second. Bill Cayley won race 1. Yeah, exactly, of course.
a little bit of a skirmish further back as well, as it's all just pretty much a mosh pit back in that AM class as they all try and jostle for position. Of course, it's not a separated grid start. Both the pros and the AM start on one long line, so it definitely can get quite bunched up, particularly going into the pinch point of the corkscrew. A couple of people making some moves further back, as you can see, but after the first lap, it's Simon Clark from, of course, Bill Cayley in P2, Mark McAleer from Jake McAleer 3 and 4. So a great start then from the two McAleers, who definitely showcased some good pace.
Jake McAleer definitely lost places, actually, because he was second early on in that lap. So yeah, he's dropped places in the second part of the lap, the testing section of the Mark McAleer looking very quick, closing on Bill Cayley going into Church, but Bill Cayley, that Cayman just seems to carry a bit more speed mid-corner.
Yeah, exactly. Of course, slightly lighter than the 997, but of course loses out on the straights. Getting very close to Mark McAleer is, of course, Jake McAleer, but hopefully the two of them are going to work nicely together to work their way to the front and not just jostle for the final podium position. Otherwise, I would absolutely love to be a fly on the wall at dinner for the McAleers if that was the case. Hopefully they don't come to blows. Of course, a fight further back as well amongst some of the AM drivers. There's still 22 minutes and 40 seconds on the clock. If this is what we're teeing up for, let's bring it on.
Very, very much so. Just lancing down at class 2. It's second in class. Sorry, it's class 2. Race 1 to find out why, but we will keep an eye on Ollie. Very, very quick driver, and he actually is ahead of Jason Brown, who's second in that class car. To crossing line, it's Simon Clark opening up that gap now out to 2 seconds advantage over the rest. Mark McAleer with Jake McAleer right behind him in third and fourth. They are closing on second place Bill Cayley.
Yeah, they are indeed. Of course, Cayley just trying to sort of close in on Simon Clark, but that's not being the case at all. Clark has got some staggeringly quick pace. Of course, you're watching there the battle further back in the arms. The 69 machine, of course, of Chatham, who was looking good for that AM win in race 1, suffered some issues. Hopefully they're all sorted so that he can contend at the front for race number 2. Seems to be doing okay. P2, or in fact actually P1 in class at the beginning of this lap, looking very strong indeed, and crucially putting, at the very least, one class 1 car between himself and his arch rival, of course, for the championship of Brown and Archer.
It is, yeah. We've actually had a place change in that class because Angus Archer, I think, has got past Jason Brown into Rocket In, and yes, he has. So fantastic move from Angus Archer. They are battling this car, this AM class. Yes, they're all out in boxes. They're all out in boxes on slicks, unlike the boxes we saw earlier today. But yeah, very, very quick and very, very close.
Indeed, that's exactly what we want. Anglesey is such a raceable circuit, isn't it? More than anything, of course, we saw a fantastic skirmish earlier on in the Boxster Cup, which again we'll see in about an hour's time or so after this one. So again, if you're watching more boxing, you want more Porsche action, don't worry, we've got plenty over the course of today. Looking at Chatham on the back of the number 10, of course, that is Morris, who's worked his way back through. That's not a fight for class position, but potentially could be a battle for track position that Chatham wants, especially with Archer half a second back.
It is, but at the front again, Simon Clark pushing very, very hard. Now, yesterday he was telling me that he felt that even after qualifying that you have to be careful with the tyres around here. 8 laps and then he felt the tyres were going away, but he's pushing very, very hard early on in this race to get a little bit of an advantage. I think he's trying to get clear so that he can then sit on that gap.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think he's banking on the fact that Mark McAleer and Bill Cayley are going to battle, hopefully wear their tyres out a little bit more, and that's then when, with that gap that he's built, he can maybe sort of not necessarily coast to the end, but definitely take it a little bit easier. So do the hard work early on and hopefully reap the rewards by the end of the race. Still battling further back, though, of course, a long train behind David Burke. That's the overall P9, and it's all aboard the Burke Express at the moment.
Very, very much. The battles all the way around the order, and especially down into that AM class where those boxers are just trying to take chunks out of each other. Carl Hazelton there with Jamie Callender right with him.
Yeah, of course, quickest lap time's being put in, by the way. Mark McAleer, 1:14.301, goes 3/10 quicker than Simon Clark in that previous lap time. So definitely showcasing the McAleers have got the pace. A fight, by the way, between Carl Hazelton and I believe this is Jamie Callender just in behind. Three-way fight, actually, because Wilkinson wants to get involved towards turn number 1. Of course, Hazelton, a driver with plenty of pace here at Anglesey, like we saw in race 1, but the results, unfortunately, haven't been showcasing that.
No, very much so. Jess Wilkinson had a great race 1, actually came 4th overall, so we need to keep an eye on her if she can actually come back through. But Ollie Chatham has Angus Archer coming back towards him. Of course, Ollie had a car problem in race 1 and Angus took the class, so Angus very, very quick. He can overtake around here, so that's a battle we're going to have to keep an eye on.
I think so. We dip under 20 minutes remaining with 19 left to go for race 2 of the Porsche Club of Great Britain Championship. Simon Clark leads the way from Bill Cayley. Mark McAleer is the podium. Jake McAleer and Jamie Cayley there, the top 5. Chris Starr just in behind in P6 in front of Ed Hayes, who's going to be hoping to keep it slightly cleaner there and stay within the confines of the track limits as to limit the amount of off-track penalties he gets at the end. But the top 4, fairly close. I mean, it's not in the sense that they're going to be battling quite hard in the near future. It's sort of that in-between where it's a case that they're close, they can't really do much with it, but one small mistake can very much bunch them up again.
Very, very much so, and I think that situation is exactly what we saw in race 1. It's still 18.5 minutes of this race to go. Tyres are going to be a factor, but in the AM class, looking across lines, a whole host of cars, but tucked in the middle of that is Ollie Chatham, our AM class leader, looking to close in on Julian Morris, who is not racing, but he does have the cars he is racing right with him, with Angus Archer and Jason Brown closing in, and they are 12th, 13th and 14th overall, but they are the AM class top 3.
Oh, car off there, that's the number 10. Goodness me, is that Morris? Indeed it is. Tap of the barrier to the front left. He's continuing on though, fair play if that car is still okay, but that was a fairly hefty whack indeed.
That's right, he was actually quite in the midst of that battle. I'm looking at that
again.
He's retired, I think. That's cost Ollie Chatham. Now, Ollie was right with him, disappearing from our side. Ollie is now 4th in class. So 10 has gone off, but that's cost Ollie Chatham, his class leader, put our race 1 AM category winner Angus Archer into the lead, but he has Jason Brown and Andrew Porter right with him. Yeah, he does indeed. It's not exactly going to be an easy battle all the way to the end for Angus Archer, as to be fair it was towards the tail end of race 1. Had to do the hard work to get there, but once he got through on Carl Hazelton it was a fairly easy run to the checkered flag. This time by though might be a different story for the AM Championship leader. Is a shame of course, as you can see they're out of the car and all okay, which is probably terminal damage, a little bit of smoke being kicked up as well, probably hit a coolant pipe or something on the contact of the barrier, and a spin there for the 22. Spin there for Pete Evans, right in the middle of the AM category pack. Car reversing backwards down the pit straight as he tries to get out of the way. Double waved yellows on the pit straight, the Pete Evans car. Spins it around and gets out of the way. That was a real heart in the mouth moment for Pete Evans, who's in a brand new car, having damaged his car 2 weeks ago at Alton Park. Yeah, that is the last thing you want, is to get a new car, come into the next race weekend, and then of course absolutely batter at the next one. A spin, but thankfully was okay. Very scary though, because he spun 180 degrees and was facing the traffic that nearly hit him. Did keep it rolling though, confused as to why he didn't press the brakes as to stop, because when you spin, the best thing you can do is stay predictable and hope everyone else around you doesn't then smash into you. A fight here though, of course, Andrew Porter on the back of Jamie Callender and of course Angus Archer. That's that respective battle for the AM class lead, so looking very, very good indeed. 16 minutes, 13 seconds left to go. The 44 this time by, the transponder's working, so we can actually see where he is in terms of track position. That's right, one track position that we actually need to look at is that battle is still ongoing. Simon Clark lost a second to Bill Cayley last time. So that battle in the front is closed right up. Someone's just dropped a wheel into the dust there in the AM category. Not quite sure who that was, but yeah, all the AM boxes, I think almost the top 6 in class, are starting to close right up on each other.
Let's bring this on then. If we're going to have a 6-way fight for the race lead with still 15 minutes left to go, could be a very standout finish. Of course, the 69 of Chatham, a little bit banged up front left wheel arch there, it must be said, but not affecting the driving at all, and is actually eyeing up the move on Andrew Porter. That 44 just ahead, of course, looks to the inside, does the silver and green, nicely done into the banking, using the camber quite nicely, gets the rotation, puts his foot down, and is through, able to set his eyes forward and hopefully get back after Angus Archer.
That's right, yeah, Pete Evans, our spinner, actually comes into the pits, but some superb battles there going on in that class. And in fact, it's Jason Brown now leading the class from Angus Archer, so he's actually got through. But Angus Archer dropped a second, and until the brownie bronzy car with the green wheels of Jason Brown now going up into locking in. Confident enough in his lead not to have to defend into the corner. He took the line that he wanted to through there, but he's just absolutely leading a train of boxers. Yeah, exactly, and is looking a very tasty train indeed from a spectator's point of view. I'm sure as a driver's perspective as well, that must be very fun to be a part of. It must be absolute chaos to deal with all the variables that's going on. There's the 24 Carl Hazelton, the pure white machine that is going to be looking for some good results. The master of Anglesey, thanks to the plethora of experience that he's got. Also just keeping an eye on that 4-car train for the front. Simon Clark from Bill Cayley, and then the 2 McAleers in pursuit. The number 80 under pressure from the 144, who's going to be looking to go to the left-hand side up the hill. Easy pass by the time they reach Rocket Inn. I think, in fact, actually Cayley led them through. I'm surprised by that, because Bill Cayley crossed the line just 0.2 of a second in front of Simon Clark, you thought he was going to be challenging, but it's actually Jacob McAleer in Rocket In, who has now moved into second overall. So that battle at the front has closed right up. Simon Clark's pace last time round, 2 seconds off his best lap so far, and he had no one in front of him.
Danger P2, I think, in the AMs as well, as Chatham moves his way past Angus Archer, but that is going to be a quick response from the championship leader, straight to the inside through the kink. That's definitely brave. Tap of the brakes just to back out, but still sort of stuck on the inside there is Chatham, who then has to, of course, make that corner a little bit tighter at Rocket In. But a great fight between what could well be 2 championship protagonists in the form of Angus Archer and Ollie Chatham. Of course, they still have to try and fight their way towards the Berg, just ahead, of course, for track position, but they're quite respectively in the half class. It's absolutely fantastic. We're closing into half distance of this race already. It's flown by thanks to how good these drivers are at racing each other.
It's very, very close. Pete Evans now, our spinner. There's fluid from the front of the car. I'm wondering if the fluid could have been the cause of the spin, if that was leaking before the incident. And, yeah, he was a helpless passenger as that car spun round. They've worked very hard to get that car up to race spec in literally 10 days. Yeah,
quick effort, and in fairness, it really isn't that long at all. There's a move potentially being teed up from the 52, of course, of Labbit, who until last race was on the podium for every single round of the AM Championship so far in 2024. He's going to be looking to kickstart that streak once again. Andrew Porter, though, wants to once again maybe put a stop to it, like he did exactly that in race number 1. Through, of course, on the 58. That is Ollie Chatham through nicely and puts another car between himself
and we've lost our race leader. Simon Clark has not come round. We have it. It's actually Jacob McAleer from Bill Cayley from Mark McAleer. We have our race leader is coming into the pits. Simon Clark cruising into the pits. And that's going to be a horror story for Simon Clark. He didn't finish the first race at Bush Park. Looks like he has now a problem in this second race here at Anglesey.
Such a shame, because it was a P2 in race 1 by a very close margin, and in fact was trying to, and had a very good chance of doing the double podium, of course, and of course that victory in race 2. But now that gets relinquished, because now it's the McAleers that are sandwiching Bill Cayley. It's a Cayley sandwich with McAleer bread either side of him, and what is going to be hopefully a fantastic three-way fight all the way to the end. But it looks as though Jake McAleer has got the pace over the other two, and should hopefully, for him, is going to sail to victory. But there's still half the race left to go. We have no idea how this is going to turn out.
And we actually now had a change in the AM category, because Ollie Chatham has got back in front of Jason Brown to retake the lead of that category. He lost ground earlier on, but he's now heading a pack of cars through Church, so that's a change. It is Jake McAleer who is now possibly on course to his second race win of the season, but Bill Cayley's coming back at him. So whatever happened to Simon Clark seems to have just denied Simon the race, and he was slowing in those two or three laps beforehand. But we now have the stunning battle going on for the lead. Bill Cayley sitting there, definitely trying to, I think, to get past Jake McAleer. Mark McAleer, I think, holding just a bit of a watching brief at the moment. He's going to know that his main championship rival is out. Maybe he's going to be happy with the points for third.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, as a racing driver, you never want to settle, but it's that risk versus the reward. You can very quickly, close in on the top two and really be aggressive and maybe go from third to second and gain a couple of extra points. Or you can sit back and guarantee a points haul for P3, particularly when your main rival is out of the running. And Mark McAleer, I mean, a top 5 in terms of pace in race 1. Not bad points, but definitely not quite to the same level as what we saw from Simon Clark. So he's going to want as many points as possible. But if there is an opportunity for them to close the walls in on Bill Cayley, the two McAleers, I'm sure he's going to take it and try and put some pressure to ease Jake's run for the lead.
It is, yeah. We also do have to bear in mind, as I said in race 1, that Bill Cayley drove Jake McAleer to the circuit on a long journey of these two in the race. So that could be a very frosty drive home, couldn't it?
Yes, it very much could be. They have got to be careful and to not come together. But I don't know, actually, if that's ever going to be a possibility. Maybe that's why Bill Cayley was so nice to Jake McAleer as they run their way towards Rocket In when the position changed the first time. And I think, actually, the stakes have most definitely risen, because before it was a case of Bill Cayley allowing McAleer through to go and catch Simon Clark. Now, of course, there's no Clark to go and catch. So it's fair game for Bill Cayley, who might be slightly regretting giving up that track position. But hindsight, of course, is very dangerous. A good run off of turn 2 for the number 80. I think he's going to eye up and move for the lead should opportunity allow. He's not going to risk it, but if there's a high yield opportunity, he's going to take it.
Very, very much so. The Cayman, we think, centre, middle engine car. Everyone seems to think that the Cayman should really have its tyres last longer through the race, or at least be more even on their wear. No rears going off, like we suspect is the issue with the 997s. Jake McAleer, if anything, actually slightly wide through the apex and wide on the exit of that corner. Bill Cayley keeping it tight, almost as if he does have a little bit more grip. The car in front's got more power, 380 horsepower, but that great Cayman does look to have a little bit more grip.
Yeah, we've been touching on pretty much all day long how the Angus is slightly more suited to the Cayman, because the 997 a little bit more grunt on the straight, but with that comes a slightly heavier, slightly longer wheelbase and a little bit more sluggish through the corners, having to be a little bit more tentative on the brakes as well, thanks to a little bit more mass, and that does allow a more agile Cayman to close the gap through the twisty bits. Look at the gap as they come across the line. Virtually nothing separating the entirety of the top three. 8.5 minutes left to go, and Bill Cayley is vying for the lead.
Very, very much so. Thinks about looking down the inside, but Jake McAleer giving him absolutely nothing there. Mark McAleer taking a wide entry. Is he looking for a tighter exit just to get on the power and chase those three down? They're coming down now through the very, very quick long right-hander of Church. Bill Cayley almost hesitates on the way in. I think that's just how the Cayman needs to be turned in. And Jake McAleer getting a very, very good exit, but will the power of the 997 and Mark McAleer chime in as they power up the hill? I think Bill Cayley has it in hand. He's not even having to be defensive in the top three hold position.
Yeah, they do. I mean, in fairness, not using all of the track available with Bill Cayley going in. You usually want to be all the way to the right-hand side, well, as best as you can, really, because that kink does wash you out ever so slightly. But he was fairly sort of in the middle. I'm not entirely sure if that was a mistake or trying to cover off high. Either way, he's there in P2. The gap between them is fluctuating. It increases, it decreases, that accordion effect that we are seeing for the front three. But again, nothing really allowing either three of them to really materialise a move. I think what it is going to be is either a mistake or an absolutely amazing run through Church that allows a move to happen.
It is, yeah, if anything. Now Bill Cayley drops back towards Mark McAleer on this particular lap, so fortune's absolutely fluctuating. I just think exactly as you say, Zach, it takes one little mistake, one wheel out of step, braking fraction early, braking a fraction late, and you lose 2 or 3 lengths or something. It's the car behind you're focusing on and not the car in front.
Yeah, exactly, and you've got to be so careful, particularly for Bill Cayley being sandwiched between the two McAleers. He's looking forward to attack Jake and also backwards to defend from Mark, and that is not a good situation to be in because your focus is constantly divided. You can't always focus all your attention on one thing in particular, and that does take away not only from the racing but also the driving. Not only they're trying to attack and defend, they're also trying to drive the car as quickly as possible, and that does take a lot of mental capacity in of itself. A lot of respect for racing drivers that can do it well, because it's not easy.
It is a lot of mental capacity also going off in the start line. Marshals who are throwing across track limits, warnings and penalties like this. Car 74 Jim Bryan now has a 10-second penalty for exceeding track limits, but lots of other people getting the warning flag.
Not quite the Christmas present I'd have gone for, I've got to be honest. Maybe they're on the naughty list with how many track limits excursions they've got it. However, a great run out of the final corner, it must be said, for Bill Cayley, and that number 80. The gap closes, but the run towards turn number 1 is just too short. It is a good overtaking opportunity if you can eye it up, but if you don't have that momentum, don't have that run, it definitely can be thwarted fairly easily. And this is what I mean, because Mark McAleer looks to go to the outside of Bill Cayley. Cayley cannot set up a switchback. He can't go wide and put Jake McAleer off touch, because the moment he leaves the inside open, Mark McAleer is going to fill it.
Exactly, yeah, he's really, as you say, that he'd love to be focusing purely on Jake McAleer, where he can use his advantages to their best, but it really is Mark McAleer now who he is under threat from. The McAleer's in similar 997 C2S's most powerful car out there, also the heaviest car out there. They've got a lot more weight to stop than Bill Cayley in that Cayman in front of them.
Yeah, exactly. 5 minutes 20 left on the clock. Bill Cayley wants that second consecutive victory. Of course, you wait long enough for one bus, 2 potentially could come at once. Carl Hayston, 5-second race time penalty for track limits. They're coming through thick and fast. Usually only monitor them at time 15, but I think they are also monitoring them on the exit of Church Bend as well, and maybe that's where a lot of the excursions are coming through. So race control definitely being kept busy with track limits today.
Very, very much so. The drivers were warned about that in the group, and they know that is the issue here. The front three very, very careful through there. They're not going to risk anything at all. Mark McAleer does get a good exit, but yeah, Bill Cayley just can't do anything with the mid-corner speed of that Cayman.
No, unfortunately not, because again, like we've said, oh, hang on, what's happened there? It's the front left headlight of Bill Cayley.
That's interesting. I wasn't aware of any contact, or actually been close enough to touch any car in front of him. So have to keep a little bit of an eye on that one as he comes through. It doesn't appear to have. He wasn't close enough to the leader to do anything. So curious.
Not entirely sure as to what's happened. Is that the headlight itself, or just the...
There is just a blank there.
Is it? Yeah, I thought so. So that's just it shouldn't be too big of a problem. Just a slight inconvenience, I'm sure, maybe to the visuals, but not great nonetheless. And just curious as to where that's happened, because Kaylee, like we said, has not been close enough for contact. Very, very close in terms of the competition and the narrative of the race, but not really been putting much pressure in terms of contact. The 144 though, still Jake McAleer leads with the fastest lap of the race, 1:13.974, the only driver thus far to dip sub 1:14, showcasing his pace. But with that, Bill Cayley, Mark McAleer, very, very close, with 3 minutes and 44 seconds left to go. The laps dwindle down, the clock ticks towards zero, and the laps and opportunities therefore go with it. So the pressure itself begins to rise and rise and rise, and towards the end of the race, that's when the tensions start to boil over.
It is. You're quite. It's actually the blank for the headlight has become detached. It's at 90 degrees to roughly where it should be. So I don't think that's going to cause any issue. Might be a little bit of airflow going into some bodywork where you wouldn't expect it. But also worth on the AM battle now, it is still Ollie Chatham who is leading from, not showing on our timing screens for some reason, Jason Brown, who's in second place. Third place car, Angus Archer, he now is showing is also having a penalty.
That is such a shame, of course, for the championship leader, Angus Archer, but that is the name of the game. You know, rules are rules, and if you exceed the track limits, then you get the slap on the wrist that comes with it. I think the headlight cover is completely detached there from the AT, because I did see something go flying off. Of course, it's better to just get rid of it than to have it hanging on. I think that's less hazardous. 2 minutes 44 left on the clock. It'll be the penultimate lap next time by. Jake McAleer from Bill Cayley, as they have been pretty much all race long since Simon Clark's DNF, around about the halfway point of the race. So hopefully we're going to have a standout finish. Fights further back as well, as the AM class continues to be competitive, albeit slightly irrelevant, because Carl Hastings got the penalty. Fight for the lead though at the final corner.
It was. Bill Cayley was right with Jake McAleer through the final quarter, just a metre or so behind, but again that's just compromised him coming onto the pit straight and through the first quick left-hander. And suddenly again he's just going to have to worry about what's happening with Mark McAleer. Down in the AM class we've got Angus Archer right with Jason Brown. They're battling for a second in the class. Angus Archer though is carrying a time penalty, we think. He's got the warning symbol against him on the timing screen, and they're starting to get quite a few drivers with track limits here, particularly this final corner being very, very closely monitored.
Yeah, it is, of course. Off the back of turn 15, you try and carry a lot of speed through, and with that you can very quickly run very wide indeed. 1 minute 44 on the clock. Be interesting to see when Jake McAleer, Bill Cayley and Mark McAleer come across the line. Can see a fight. I think that might well be between Brown and Angus Archer. Of course, Archer now with a 5-second penalty to add to his race time, so that battle will come, unfortunately, to a premature end in the sense that Archer can't actually fight, because if he does and is unable to pull out a 5-second gap, it will be absolutely meaningless. 1 minute 18:17 on the clock. Still not yet seen the leaders come round, so it will be the final lap this time by. The 144 still of Jake McAleer leads. 1 lap left to go. Opportunities running out.
It is, yeah. I think Jake McAleer would be delighted to see that last lap board. And Mark McAleer is going to know that if he is going to take second, then this has to be the moment. But Mark McAleer will be playing the long game. He knows his championship rival is in the pits. He was actually second in the leading the championship coming into this meeting. So I think he's going to really just want to make sure whatever happens, he leaves with a decent points haul. Yeah,
exactly that. It's getting very busy in the AMs as Carl Hazelton sends a move on the inside. I think of Jamie Callender. Jess Wilkinson as well is involved. There's Archer versus, of course, the 56 of Jason Brown, who I think is having some transponder issues. Indeed it is. It's intermittent, as the TSL have reported it. Of course, looking at the fight for the lead, the three-way fight that it is. Jake McAleer from Bill Cayley, Mark McAleer, the top three. I think that gap is far too big. Opportunities are running out. It's McAleer's to lose.
Very, very, very much so, to be quite honest. There's not really, unless you are going to do something amazing down through the Tyson Twisty section that closes the superb Anglesey lap. I think Mark McAleer is going to settle quite happily for third. I think he'd be happy for the long drive back to North Yorkshire with those points in his pocket. Yeah, exactly that. Final couple of corners for them then, and Jake McAleer has handled this to perfection. Cayley, of course, sandwiched between the family, but is able to deal with the pressure. In fact, no, he's not. A twitch on the final corner, and through goes Mark McAleer to take P2 on the run to the line. Sensational, and that makes it a McAleer 1-2 finish for race 2 of the Porsche Club of Great Britain Championship, brought to you by Pirelli here at Anglesey. What a finish that was. Bill Cayley dropping it at the line. It's McAleer 1-2, Cayley 3 and 4. What a race as McAleer takes victory. That was absolutely stunning. So, 20 laps, 15 corners, 350 corners. 349 corners he did superbly. One corner he messed up and that cost him the position.
That's all you need. It's a race at the end of the day. You can lead as many laps as you want, but if you don't have the position across the line, then it means absolutely nothing. And oh my goodness me, Bill Cayley is going to be throwing hands at himself really more than anything. That is such a shame. Of course, across the line it is going to go the way of Ollie Chatham for the AM win. He waves his way across the line. What a win. And for the 69 machine, of course, making amends for the DNF in race 1, fires back and takes the victory in class.
It is, yeah, with Jason Brown second. Angus Archer third on the road, but we know carrying that penalty, so it could be Andrew Porter is going to get elevated to take that position. But absolutely superb second Porsche Club Championship race of the season, of the session day today, both in the main class and in the AM category. So yeah, fantastic racing, and I need to disappear and get them to talk to me all about it.
Go get some gossip. Jake McAleer, the winner, of course, of race number 2, fastest lap as well in the 144, drove fantastically, and there you can see the McAleers driving in formation in celebration for what is a very successful round here at Anglesey for the Porsche Club of Great Britain. Brought to you by Pirelli. McAleer 1 and 2, with Bill and James Cayley 3 and 4. A mistake for the Cayman sees him unable to take a second consecutive victory. Chris Dyer completes the top 5 with Ed Hayes. Again, another penalty going the way of him, with Jim Bryan just in behind. David Burke ahead of Oliver Chatham, of course the leading AM driver, ahead of his championship rival Angus Archer in P10. Just behind that, of course, P11 goes the way of Labbit. Jamie Callender works his way up to P12. Behind that, Carl Hazelton and Jessica Wilkinson, with a plethora of DNF. Simon Clark, Pete Evans, Julian Morris, Jason Brown, Andrew Porter. Of course, the bottom 2 of those having some transponder issues, so they technically can be classified, provided that the transponder was on the car. Unfortunately, just not working. But that concludes race number 2 of the Porsche Club Championship. Jack Rowe was down there to have a word with some of the drivers.
Yeah, so down here in the pit lane, I'm here with Jake McAleer. Jake, whether you saw it in your rearview mirror on the very final corner of the final lap, that's a McAleer 1-2.
I saw it just as if we were coming around, absolutely couldn't believe it. Over the moon, especially after I thought I threw it all the way at the hairpin on the first lap, dropped 2 or 3 places, so yeah, really happy. What does that do to your mindset throughout the race? You make a small mistake very early on. Does that take a minute to sort of recompose and get back into it, or do you just straight get back into that rhythm? Yeah, I mean, to be honest, didn't have a moment because I think James was then trying to make it free getting past me, so you're straight into that. But yeah, it definitely gives you a little bit more motivation. I think you kind of do all that hard work in qualifying and you throw it away. But yeah, luckily we managed to recover. And a good way to leave Anglesey, really? You're leaving Anglesey on a high. Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously you don't like to see it with Simon kind of having the issue there, but yeah, for me it's a good end to the day. Great stuff. Congratulations, Jake. We will now wander along and try and find Ollie Chatham. So he should be down here somewhere. Hopefully we can pick up on him. Hopefully he's still in his car, because you'll find a driver and then they'll run away from you. So we're looking for car number 144. I can see Carl Hazelton is over there. We're not looking for Carl. We're looking for Ollie Chatham. So we don't have his car here that I can see. Do we have Ollie Chatham further down there? No, I don't think we do. Yes, we do. Ollie Chatham. Do we have Ollie in here somewhere? Ollie? Ollie.
Me.
Brill. Right, we've got him here. We're in with all the drivers. We'll cover.
Stand like this.
Well, you might be covering it up. Talk us through your part to play in that little mark.
So I got a good start, and then the Class 1 cars that I out-qualified, they are normally quicker in the race, so you sort of have to let them by. And you let them by carefully so you don't lose too much time. And then one of them that went by, Julian, was just a bit too slow, and I thought I found an opportunity to overtake him, and we just got a bit close. So unfortunately, he's watching the race, so he's probably not too happy with me. But from then on, it was I could pull I was actually, what was I then, down to 4th? So I had to go back through the guys, and they were generous. They let me by. I thought that was nice of them. I waved.
And obviously walking away with the Class 2 win, so you've got to be happy with that. But also carving your way through the order, does that make it just as enjoyable, even more so maybe?
Yeah, initially when it happens, you think, well, there you go, I've given away the lead and the win, and I'm going to be off the podium. And then when you start working your way through, because there's enough time left on the board, it does feel quite good. And then just holding that gap, because they're quick. You know, so you don't just drive away in the distance, you can see them in your mirrors and you gap them, and they're not falling back. They're quick guys.
And the plan for the rest of the season, you're going to change anything, maybe develop the car a bit more, or leave it as it is?
Maybe some paint work, a little bit of paint work. But yeah, no, she's going well, so I'm happy.
Great stuff, congratulations. Best of luck for the rest of the season. But in the meantime, Zach, back up to you in the commentary box as Clio Cup GB is about to get underway.
Well, welcome back everyone as we head towards the second of two Clio Cup Great Britain races today at Anglesey. Welcome along if you're just joining us on the live stream, and of course hope everyone here at trackside is enjoying themselves as well, because we've had a fantastic day of racing thus far, and of course the Clio Cup of Great Britain brought a fantastic 20-minute showdown over this morning as well. It's myself, Zach Sweeney, in the commentary booth, and when Jack Rowell wanders his way up here after concluding the post-race interviews, we'll have him as well to talk you through the next 20 minutes of racing. Quick reminder as to how things ended up earlier on. 16 laps of racing.